Hello, book lovers! Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice has been published in countless editions over the past 2 centuries. There are more than 17,000 editions listed on Goodreads alone. I'm obviously not going to try and cover all of them, but I thought a curated list of beautiful contemporary editions might be useful. As usual, details and links to everything I mention are included in the description box below, and I've got a companion article with lots of information about these and even more editions linked there too. This is an example of a first edition of Pride and Prejudice, which was published on the 28th of January 1813 in 3 volumes by T. Egerton of Whitehall. The first edition sold briskly enough to warrant a second later that year and a third in 1817. This beautiful slipcase edition here is a facsimile of that first edition, which was published by the British Library in 2025. The books have marbled end papers, deckled page edges, and the set comes with reproductions of handwritten letters, documents and other ephemera from Austen's archive and personal effects, as well as a booklet containing an expert introduction by the library collection's head curator. Many novels of the day were published in parts because books were expensive to buy outright, and most middle-class readers accessed them through subscription-based circulating libraries. Libraries preferred multiple volume books because they could lend them to more customers at once. You can see this 3-volume structure reflected in Pride and Prejudice, with the initial 23 chapters covering first impressions and ending with a status shift with Charlotte's sudden engagement. Volume 2, which is chapters 24 to 42, raises the stakes and shifts the conflict from external misunderstandings to Elizabeth's internal transformation, ending with a major emotional reversal. And Volume 3, of course, resolves the story and brings our happy ending. This edition is the new collector's edition of Pride and Prejudice from Barbara Heller's correspondence series. I reviewed her earlier edition in detail a few years ago, but this new edition is much larger as it's now 2 volumes. And in addition to 19 letters from the book, it also includes new mementos like the Darcy's marriage certificate and an invitation to the ball at Netherfield. Like many women authors at the time, Jane published anonymously, and the original title page simply read, "By the author of Sense and Sensibility." Sense and Sensibility had previously appeared in 1811 under the byline "By a Lady." Austen remained publicly anonymous throughout her life. Sadly, she never even actually saw her own name on a title page. It didn't appear until after her death in 1817, when her brother Henry revealed her authorship in a biographical notice prefacing Northanger Abbey and Persuasion. In Jane Austen's lifetime, letters weren't slipped into envelopes the way we do today. Instead, sheets of paper were folded into their own secure packet, often secured with a dab of sealing wax, a practice known as letter locking. Writers folded the page in a precise sequence, tucking corners carefully into place so the letter sealed itself. Postage was usually paid by the recipient, not the sender, so letters were folded to be as compact and economical as possible. This edition uses the original period techniques, allowing readers to unfold and read the correspondence referred to in the book exactly as Jane would have imagined it. This beautiful edition is actually from a Kickstarter run by illustrator Teresa Vu. The book has 40 pages of illustrations that range from spot illustrations to full-page spreads, and the text has been fully typeset to meld beautifully with the illustrations. The limited edition hard copies are unfortunately sold out, but the illustrated paperbacks are also lovely, and you can still buy these from her directly. This is one of the new Vintage Classics editions. The foiled cover design is by Sarah Gordon and the marbled end papers and page edges are by Gemma Lewis. These are lovely affordable editions with quality paper and bound in silk ribbon bookmarks. If you've got money to burn, I think the 1894 Peacock Edition, published by George Allen, is really something special. This is probably the most famous decorative edition of Pride and Prejudice. The gorgeous gilded cover is illustrated by artist Hugh Thompson, with an ornate peacock spreading its tail across the green cloth binding. Inside, Thompson provided an enormous 160 illustrations. This was the first edition to fully illustrate the novel throughout. I usually see these go for around $3,000 to $10,000 depending on condition, so sadly the one I'm showing here is a modern facsimile. A coloured version of this cover design is the one used in the RBA's popular Timeless Classics or Modern Cranford series. These volumes are glue bound and sadly they don't have all the illustrations included, but they do have the unabridged text and they look delightful on the shelf. Another edition I'd love to show you quickly was published by Macmillan in 1895. In an effort to compete with Hugh Thompson's beautiful Peacock Edition that was published the year before, Macmillan brought in another well-known illustrator called Charles Brock to illustrate Pride and Prejudice, and it sold equally well. Hugh Thompson was then invited back to Macmillan to complete illustrations for Austen's other 5 novels. The Victorian publishing world was tiny. Everyone knew everyone worked with everyone. It was basically Downton Abbey, but with printing presses. Confusingly, this book is known as part of Macmillan's Peacock series because of Albert Debane's beautiful peacock end paper design. He's one of my favourite cover designers ever, and he did the pretty decorative cover design for this edition and a matching series for the rest of her novels. And now I'm going to finish up with a little detour over to an Italian language edition that was published last year. The text is obviously in Italian, but the die-cut tunnel book illustrated by Daniele Catali that accompanies it works in any language. Just something fun that many Austen collectors may not yet have seen. Thanks for joining me in this little tour. There are a few more titles in the article that didn't make it into the video if you want to look at some more. And I'd love to know what your favourite edition of Pride and Prejudice is. It might be something sentimental that you were given by family or friends, or it might be something outrageously expensive that we'll all just have to drool over. I can't wait to read about it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. The next video will be up shortly, so please do subscribe if you want to be notified about my reviews. Till next time, bye!